will continue to protect the budget of the National Health Service. Friends, earlier this week, David Cameron was booed when he was asked about the NHS. And no wonder. Before the last election, he ruled out top-down reorganisation of the NHS in England, but as soon as he was in office, he broke that promise. He claims repeatedly that the Tories have no plans to extend privatisation, but he's legislated to allow the private sector to use up to 49% of hospital beds in England. And he says that TTIP, the proposed new trade treaty between the US and the EU, poses no threat to our health service, but he refuses to put that beyond doubt. Well, let me make our position on that very clear. No ifs, no buts. There must be an explicit protection for the NHS on the face of the TTIP agreement. Friends, make no mistake, the continued privatisation of the NHS in England threatens the budget of the Scottish Government. So I give this commitment today. SNP MPs, in order to protect Scotland's budget, will vote at Westminster to halt the tide of NHS privatisation in England. We will use our voices and our votes to keep the NHS, north and south of the border, firmly in public hands. Good quality healthcare is essential to a decent society, so too is education. The truth is, without the free education that I was so lucky to have, I wouldn't be standing here as First Minister today. For me, keeping education free is personal, and I give you this absolute guarantee. As long as I am your First Minister, there will be no tuition fees in Scotland. Just keep education free. I want to make sure that many more young people from ordinary and disadvantaged backgrounds get the opportunity to take advantage of free education. That's why I've set up a £100 million Scottish Attainment Fund. I want to make sure that a child born today in one of our most deprived communities, by the time he or she leaves school, has the same chance of going to university as a child from a wealthier background. So today I'm announcing further support to help young people stay in education. When the Tories abolished the educational maintenance allowance in England, we retained it in Scotland. That allowance provides £30 a week to pupils from the least well-off families. And for many of these young people, it makes the vital difference between them being able to continue in education and being forced to leave to find employment. Currently, educational maintenance allowances help 35,000 young people in Scotland stay in education. Today I can confirm that the Scottish Government will extend that scheme so that it benefits even more of our young people. Firstly, we will raise the eligibility threshold to make payments available to an additional 10,000 school pupils. Second, we will extend the scheme to part-time college students, helping another 12,000 young people. That means from next year, a total of 57,000 16 to 19-year-olds will be entitled to receive an educational maintenance allowance. Friends, that is real help for the young people who need it most to stay on in education and fulfil their potential. Education is my personal passion, and securing the best possible opportunities for all of our young people will drive the decisions I make as First Minister. It's also what drives my ambitions for young women. As the first woman to hold the office of First Minister, I am determined that unlike that other woman leader we once knew, I will use my time in this job to improve the lives of women across our country. Challenging discrimination and championing women's achievements. It also means leading by example. You know, I despair that today, in 2015, there are only 3 gender-balanced cabinets in the whole of the developed world. But I am really, really proud that mine is one of them. Too many things that still stand in the way of gender equality. Systemic and institutional barriers that we need to remove. The pay gap, occupational segregation, a lack of affordable childcare, and sometimes just outdated attitudes. But for too many women, it's the violence and the abuse they suffer in their own homes. Domestic abuse is a crime that affects 1 in 6 women in our country. Earlier this week, in a speech to Scottish Women's Aid, I announced plans to strengthen the law on domestic abuse. Subject to consultation, we will introduce legislation this year. But changing the law is not enough. We need to do more. That is why I am announcing today new funding of £20 million over the next 3 years to step up our work to tackle violence against women. Invest that money to speed up the court process, give more support to victims, and expand schemes to help offenders change their behaviour. Delegates, addressing the scourge of domestic violence is essential if we are ever to achieve true gender equality in this country, and let me make it clear, I am determined to lead a government that will do just that.